In this video, I'm going to show you how to build an advanced drip campaign in Podio using SmrtPhone for your texting, and for email, we're either going to use Podio's free built-in email function, or for those that want to take their email to that next level, I'm going to show you how you can quickly set up GlobeMail. This is somewhat of a follow-on video from my connecting SmrtPhone to Podio video, which you'll find a link to in the description. However, while I recommend it, you don't have to have watched that video to follow along with this one. As always, if you want to reach out and get help with this or anything else in your system, then you can email me at support@orata.io. So before we begin, let's start by taking a look at what we're looking to achieve. So here we are inside of the beginner's wholesale system with the drip campaign added on. In my opinion, with the drip campaign, it doesn't make it beginners anymore, but I don't know what else to call it. So as you can see, tasks to contacts or even settings, all these apps we will have already set up when we did both creating the beginner's wholesale system, if you followed that video, and when you followed the SmrtPhone video. If you have, then you would have connected SmrtPhone, got the communications app, and done all that good stuff. So the new apps that you're going to need are drip campaign, campaign steps, and company contact numbers. But I'm going to give you these three apps with automation already included. I'll show you how to download those soon. So your campaign steps are going to be email, SMS using SmrtPhone, and tasks, so automated tasks. So you could do something like, okay, on day 1, send an SMS. On day 3, send an SMS and an email and assign X team member a task to call that lead. So it's really useful in that way. In the future, I'm also going to show you how to connect things like slide broadcast for ringless voicemails and lob for sending automated mail. So don't forget to subscribe for that. So if we go into one, so this is just one that I've already set up, we can see we have this calculation field. It shows us what variables we can use. So all of these variables. And when you set it up yourself, I recommend just copy and pasting to avoid any human error, basically. So you just want the square brackets. So for testing, I just added in exactly what was here so that I could check all of these get replaced. So first name, seller's first name, last name, you can read it. And then what you do basically is in your drip campaign app, you basically then just give it a name, mark it as active, SMS parameters. So sometimes a lead will have multiple numbers and it will have multiple emails. We get to decide, do we send to just the first number in the row or do we send to all of them? Likewise for emails. You get to decide whether you're skipping weekends or not, skip holidays. You can see which holidays are included in the black box right there. And you add the number that you're going to send from. So this is going to be connected to SmrtPhone, obviously, so this will be a SmrtPhone number. If, by the way, you're not using SmrtPhone and want to know how to connect a different dialer, then join the forum, link down below, and you can add that as a tutorial request, and probably at some point I'll get around to doing it for you. But SmrtPhone's really good to use. If you don't already have an account, you can get one down below. So yeah, you add in the number you want to use, and then you add in your actions. So your actions are the ones we just created. And then basically it's asking, after you hit begin drip campaign, so there's going to be a button in your leads app called begin drip campaign. After you hit it, how many days after you hit that do you want the first actions to send? If you want it to send straight away, you'd put 0. Then action 2 is basically how many days after action 1 do you want action 2 to send? If you wanted it to send the next day, you would put 1. If you wanted it to send 10 days later, you'd put 10. Action 3, how many days after action 2 do you want action 3 to send? So again, it's just if you want it to send the next day after the previous step, you'd just put 1. So really simple. And what you can also do, so your drip campaign is going to have 10 steps. If you wanted to have 11, 12, 20, what you could do is in step 10, instead of adding any steps, you could add another drip campaign. So basically it would, instead of assigning actions, it would assign a new drip campaign, begin that one, and you could basically go on forever. All right, so if we go to our leads app, seller leads right here, you can see we have this test lead. We have some test details, so test name, email, phone, and then this address here. So if we scroll down, we'll see our drip campaign section right here. And all we need to do is select the test drip campaign and then hit begin drip campaign. What this will do is it will trigger the first step, the automated email and the automated text that we have set up. So you can see test drip campaign now in progress. It automatically updates some hidden fields that we have on the back end that we'll be adding as well. And then you'll see this no communication history will get updated. So more fields getting updated, next send date. Okay, we can see the text has been sent. It's been replaced by all of our variables that we added in. And here we go. And the communication status updated with the outgoing text that's been sent and the outgoing email. And then tomorrow, step 2 is going to send. The day after that, step 3 will send. Because that's how we have our drip campaign set up with 1, 1, 1. So they're basically sending day after day after day. Perfect. So I have my coffee. I hope you have yours. Let's get into building it. The first thing we're going to do is if you click the link in the description, you'll see a link to download the apps. So I'm going to go into the workspace we're going to be working on. So this is basically the beginner's wholesale system as we set it up with SmrtPhone connected, good to go. So we want to get the drip campaign app, the campaign steps app, and the company contact numbers app. So hit invite, select clients, add admin at orata.io, add to your workspace, then come here, go to manage members, and then at the side here where it says actions, you'll have the button to make admin. Don't hit make regular or light, make admin. This way you don't pay to add us to your workspace, and it means that we can install the apps. If you don't do that, you'll get an error. But don't worry, once you've done that, you won't get the error anymore. If you fill out this, just with the details that we need, email address is going to be, the email address you should use is going to be, I'll just show you the email. You can see it sent here. This uses Podio's built-in automation free one. So it has this Podio email address, but I'll show you how you can use your own domain. So yeah, add in your email address, the one that's connected to your Podio account, and your Podio user ID. If you just click your icon here, click my profile, and then we want this ID here. Actually, just turn on my mouse. All right, cool. So yeah, we want this ID, just the ID, nothing else in the URL. Add that in. And then the workspace URL. So if we go back to the workspace we're working in, it's this one. Make sure we hit activity and then copy in this URL right here. And then paste it in and install. So it's going to find your workspace first, hit continue, and then workspace found. And then obviously you have the option to join the forum. I highly recommend you do join the forum. It'll be really helpful if you have any questions or anything as we're going, but it's up to you. And then you can close this page out. I'm going to close this out, and we're just going to wait a few minutes. In a few minutes, the apps for our drip campaign will be installed. So I'll be right back when they are. All right, here we go. So you can see the apps have now been installed right here. When you see this bar, it means they're installed. So if we do a refresh, perfect. We have our drip campaign, campaign steps, and company contact. What we need to do now is we can just select any of these, select our wrench here, and go to workflow automation. Hit login. And what we want to do is just in the bottom left here, we'll do a refresh from Podio, and that's going to install all of the flows that come with the apps that you've just received. Perfect. So the flows have been installed, and you can see the drip campaign has 3 and the company contact numbers has 4. I did these already just because they're pretty boring. All they basically do is check that none of the drip campaign fields, when you create a drip campaign, the only field that can have a 0 value is action 1. Action 2, action 3, action 4 cannot have a 0 value because that's just not how it works, because that would be basically send the same day, and we can't do that. So it has to be a value above 1. So it basically just checks that, and if it finds any field with a 0 value, it's going to update it. Company contact numbers is basically just when the phone number's updated, it just strips it and adds the digits only, just because that's how we need it for smartphone. And then delete the number. If you delete the number in smartphone, we're going to make sure that that number gets deleted in Podio as well, so that we're basically not trying to use numbers that we don't have anymore. All right, perfect. So if you've not followed along with the beginner wholesale system and connecting smartphone to your system, you might not have a settings app. So a settings app is going to be important because we're going to pull some information from there when using the drip campaign. If you don't have one, just add app, create your own, call it settings, create app, add a field called record ID, and it's going to be single line if you're using the first one. And then you want to add just 4 more fields. We're going to do seller facing email. Make sure it's single line. Then we're going to do seller facing from name. Again, making sure it's a single line. We're then going to add system owner's full name. Make sure it's a single line. And then smartphone API key. Again, making sure it's a single line. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then our record ID is going to be at the top. Hit done. And then you just want to make sure you've put 1 in record ID and fill out the other information. So what seller facing email do you want to use? So I'll be using support@orata.io, seller facing from name, etc., etc. I'm not going to use this one. I'm going to use the one that we already have with the system. But just in case you don't have one, you'll want to add one of those. All right, so that's been deleted. So the next thing we're going to do with our settings app is we're going to go to campaign steps. We're going to come here to modify template. And at the bottom, you'll see we have a settings field. We're going to just open this, choose an app, and then we're going to add our settings app. Wrong workspace. Settings. Perfect. And hit done. I'm just going to quickly leave this other workspace so that we don't get confused. Perfect. All right, so we've added our settings and we've saved it. We then want to go back to modify template. And you see in direction, we have our system owner's full name. We're going to remove these quotes. We're going to do all of system owner's full name and select this one. Make sure that those details are filled out. Oh, no, we need to do system owner's full name dot join and hit done. There we go. So let's go ahead and add a test step. So test step 1, leave it as SMS, hit save. Cool. All right. So the next step we're going to do is add the fields that we need to add in seller leads. For the drip campaign, we're going to add those now. So if we go into seller leads, go into our test lead, we want to now add our drip campaign section. So what we can do is we can go into modify template. Now, wherever you want your drip campaign section to be, you can scroll down to there. I'm going to put it just above our communications header. So if you followed along with the previous demos, you can just copy and paste the header. Copy it in, and then just change communication overview to drip campaign. If you do not have these headers and you want to add them, I have a code template that you can purchase down below. If you do, it just helps me be able to create more of these videos for you. Thanks to everyone that's purchased them in the past. Really appreciate it. So what you can do is just copy this, and this will give you the same header basically. So then the fields that we want to add are, we're going to get a relationship field and connect it to our drip campaign app. And we're just going to call it drip campaign. We're then going to put a status, so a category field, call it drip campaign status. Make sure single choice is activated. Perfect. And then the options we're going to add are begin drip campaign, drip campaign progress. I recommend adding these exactly as I'm adding them because it'll make it much easier down the line. Drip campaign paused, drip campaign completed, and stop drip campaign. You can change these colors however you want. Let's do drip campaign paused, completed, and then stop. Cool. We then need a date field. We'll call it campaign begin date. And then we're going to just hide the end date. We'll leave that. And we'll mark it as always hidden. Then we'll do pause date. We're going to hide the end date, hide the time entry, and again mark as always hidden. We're going to do a next send date. Again, hide in the end date, hide the time entry, and mark as always hidden. One more field. It's going to be a number field, and we're going to do next step number to send. And then hit save. In case you haven't hit save already, that next step number to send field needs to be hidden. So I'm just going to go back in and hide it. Doesn't need to be hidden, but no one should be changing it. So we should just make sure that's always hidden. The rest is good. Cool. If we scroll down, we can see it here. Great. Now, if you want to add the drip campaign into your navigation, if you have navigation, what we can do is we'll open another seller leads tab, go to the wrench here, hit developer, scroll down until we find the drip campaign section. So here it is. So it's field 3. So basically all we do, come into modify template, find our our navigation section. I'm going to call it var link 10 equals drip campaign. Yes, there we go. And boop. And then because it's above communication history, I want it above var link 9. So we can see link 9's there. I'm just going to go above it, add in a new line. Then we're going to do open, so double quotes, square brackets, double quotes, plus link 10 plus double quotes, closed square bracket, open parentheses, hashtag, so hash, field, dash, 3, close parentheses, double quotes, plus, double quotes, the pipe, double quotes, plus. All right, there we go. And that will add in our drip campaign navigation. Bit tedious, but it all makes sense. Cool, so now if we hit drip campaign, it takes us right down to this section. All right, perfect. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to update our communications app. So if we go to the communications app right here, there are some fields we need in order to add emails, send emails, action statuses, all of that. So if we go into, again, modify template, need some coffee. The first thing we're going to do is in this type here, we're going to just copy this, remove text, and put email. Now, make sure there's no extra space at the end of this or anything like that. It's important that it's exactly like this. Then we can copy and paste incoming, remove text, and just put email. Again, making sure it looks exactly like mine. We're then going to go down a little bit, and just below outbound status, we're going to put another category field, and we're going to call it action status. And then the options we're going to add, again, I would call all of your fields the same as mine, just for this demo. It's much easier. So action status is going to have pending, sent, error, paused, and stopped. Again, you can change the colors. I'll do orange for pending, sent will be green, error, red, paused, blue, stopped, gray. Okay. Then we're going to scroll down and we'll go let's go here. So I'll put it just below smart dialer status. We're going to need a text field, another text field, an email field. Going to add another text field, another text field, a relationship field. In this relationship, we can add, we want to add campaign steps. Hit save. And then a date field. We're going to hide the end date, show time entry. Okay, so we're going to call this one send date. The relationship field's just going to be called step. Text will be email body. We can leave this as a multi-line text field. This is going to be email subject. We want to make sure that this is a single line text field. The email field is going to be contact email. Changing this to a single line. This is going to be company email. And then the last one is going to be email from name. And making sure this is a single line text field. Perfect. So we've got email from name, single line, company email, single line, contact email is an email field, email subject is single line, email body is multi-line, step connected to drip campaign steps, and send date with end date hidden and time shown. Done. Perfect. So if we go into here, we can see all of these fields we just added. So now we can start on the automation. First, we'll come back into PWA right here and refresh from Podio. Close that screen. All right, so the first flow we're going to create is going to be in seller leads. So make sure we've done a refresh from Podio so that all of our fields sync back up, and then we can go to our leads app. So within our leads app, we're going to create a new flow, and then call it manual flow. I'm going to call it 2.0.0 because then it's going to keep everything in order. This isn't the next one we need, but it's the most important one to do right now. I'm going to call it drip campaign step 1. Great. So then what we want to do is add an action. Going to get referenced drip campaign forward. Find our drip campaign field that we recently added. Follow references to another app. Campaign steps forward. Using field action 1. We're then going to add a variable, and it's going to be called send date. And in this, we basically are going to calculate a random day and time. So not a random day. The day is going to be the send date that it's supposed to be sent on. But we want to calculate a random time. This is just so our messages and emails don't look automated. So we're going to calculate a random time. I'm going to use my cheat sheet code because it's way easier. If you don't want to use it, you can copy the code off the screen. But I will say now, this has a lot of code. Drip campaigns are super complicated to get right and get perfect. So there is a lot of code that goes into this, unfortunately. So I'm going to grab this, paste it in here, and then just replace my current date and time token. And then there's another one that's just current date right there. And then that's it. We're going to add another variable. This is going to be called step number. Try and make your variables name exactly like mine. So lowercase first word, uppercase first letter of the consecutive words. The step number for this is simply going to be 1. Next variable is going to be, I'm just going to type in 2, and we get our action 2 right here. I'm going to add 1 below, and I'm going to type in our action 2 X days after previous step. The name for this variable is going to be next action num name. And then this one's going to be next action num X days. All right. So it just kind of makes sense as we're going. This flow is pretty long and pretty complicated. And we need 10 of them. But the great thing is that once we've done this one, we can then just duplicate and make another 10, just changing these 3 fields here, which is why I have them at the top. So this is going to be a bit long, but at the end of that, it's just about duplicating it. So we're going to add in a sanity. I'm going to do if status. We're going to want ref drip campaign sequence status is not equal to inactive. Again, you have to type it exactly like I am. If you're worried about mistyping it, all you can do is go to your drip campaign app, modify template, and just copy what's here. Select all, copy, and copy it in. We then want to do for each. So we're going to trigger some actions now for each of the steps that we might have in our action block. So for each ref campaign step item, we want a sanity. I'm just going to go ahead and put another sanity straight away because we need 2. We want if action type. So we can type in action type, ref campaign step action type is not equal to SMS, all in caps, and action type is not equal to tasks. Then I'm just going to copy this, paste it in here. If action type, remove the exclamation mark, remove SMS, and replace with email. And I can actually remove this. Email, we're looking for the seller's email address is equal to empty. I'm going to put end if just to close this sanity brick out. And then in between those, I'm going to add a comment. And the comment's just going to say something like error, a drip campaign tried to send an automated email, but the email field was empty. I'll put error 2 asterisks, so it just makes error bold. Opt. I'm going to mark it as silent because you can't help it if the email field's empty. It's going to notify you, but do we really want a notification? It's up to you. If you do, then unselect silent, but I like to keep it silent. Then I'm going to add in another sanity. I'm going to do get the seller's email address again. If seller's email address is not empty, or this action type here, and grab it. Basically, one action type is not equal, so exclamation mark not equal to email. Then I'm going to do var, call this one type, and then I'm going to str replace double quotes email, comma, space, double quotes outgoing email. Again, if you're worried about typing that wrong, just go into the communications app where we added that outgoing email selection in the communications app and copy it in. And then I'm just going to get the action ref campaign step action type and then close the parentheses. So I've got my variable here and then going to create an item, communications, mark it as silent, mark it as hook. I do recommend marking both sides. You have to mark hook, but I recommend marking silent. We're then going to start with our contact field. The contact is going to be, if you're following along from the wholesaling demo, then what you want to type in is Podio item ID. So even if you're not following along from the wholesale demo, you basically want the Podio item ID of the lead item. So the seller leads Podio item ID. If you're following along from the wholesale demo, after that, you would put dot, double quotes, comma, double quotes, dot, and then type in first seller contact record. Okay. If you're not following along from the demo, then you just will have that Podio item ID field. Then I'm going to add in the type, change value to calc, and then add in our type variable, the one that we've just created up here. Then our email subject. We want email subject right here. Go ahead and grab the email body as well. And this is just going to be, if we type in subject, we'll get the ref campaign step email subject. Type in body, we'll get the ref campaign step email or text body. Then the step right here. Change it to calc, and it's going to be, again, typing in Podio item. So we want the ref campaign step Podio item ID. Our action status right here, it's going to be pending. And then call notes. Now in the call notes, I like to just say that it was created by X campaign and what step number it is. Shortly, when we're sending these, we're going to be sending the step number straight away if it's between a certain time. We're going to be sending it straight away. So if you want it to send straight away, make sure you type step 1 as I'm about to type it. So we're going to do created by, and then if we type in name, we'll get drip campaign sequence name. And then I'm going to type in step with a capital S. And then if we type in step up here, what we want is our variable step number. If you don't see it, type in step number and you'll see it right here. Okay, so created by test campaign step 1 is basically what it's going to say. And then the last field we want here, if we scroll right down to the bottom, we want our send date, change it to calc, and we want to add in our send date variable. Beautiful. Then we just want end if. We want another end if. And that's this section done. We got a little bit more to do. We then want a sanity check. And then we want action type equal SMS, all in caps. Another sanity. And then we're kind of going to do the same thing again that we did if they have no email. We're going to put a comment if they have no phone. So we'll type in phone. We'll get seller's phone number. If seller's phone number is equal to blank, I'm going to add in my end if. Comment in the middle. Again, I'm going to mark it as silent. And what we can do is we can scroll right down to where we've added our first comment, copy it in, try to send an automated SMS, but the phone field was empty. Perfect. Another sanity. We want, again, the phone field. If seller's phone number is not equal to blank, we're going to get reference. Now we want to collect our company contact number that we're going to be using to send from. Get reference drip campaign, forward, drip campaign, follow references to another app, company contact numbers, forward, campaign number. From there, we're going to create again another communication. Create item, communications. Again, silent hook event. Make sure you're selecting these. Contact, calc, Podio item ID. We're adding in basically exactly what's here. So you can copy and paste this if you wanted to. Paste it in. Seller's Podio item ID. And if you're following from the demo, contact record. From there, we're going to add in the smartphone number. Is going to be, if we type in digits, we want to grab this digits only field. The contact number is going to be our seller's phone field. The type will be outgoing text. We then want to add what our text message is going to be. If we type in email, we want this ref campaign steps email or text body. Now our action status again is going to be pending. Our step, again, changing to calc and adding in the ref campaign step Podio item ID. Call notes. We can go ahead and grab it from here. We'll just copy and paste what's here. And our send date right here. Calc. Send date. Perfect. And then we want end if and end if. Continuing on, take a sip of coffee if you want. Just be lucky that we don't actually have to do this 10 times. We can clone it. So, next, create item. No, sorry, forget that. Close that. Sanity. If type, action type is equal to task. Now we're going to create our automated tasks. We want get referenced team members, forward, lead manager. So what we're doing now is we're deciding who the task is going to be assigned to. If we go into our campaign step, the test one that we just created, you can see in the tasks section at the bottom, we add a task title, we can give the task an optional description, and then we can either assign the task to the lead manager by pressing yes, or assign it to anyone in our system. What the system's going to do, like the black box says, is if the lead manager, if the lead has no lead manager for some reason, it's going to use this field. Otherwise, if you select this, it's going to use the lead manager. So what I suggest you do when you're setting this up is always select. So if you wanted it to be assigned to the lead manager, select yes, but always add in someone as a backup to assign it to, just in case there is no lead manager. If you don't want it to be assigned to the lead manager and you want it be always to be assigned to a specific person, then forget about this and just select this. But moving on to actually building it. So from there, we want another variable. It's going to be called search name. And then we're going to grab this search name variable from our cheat sheet code from here. For those that don't have it, it's pretty straightforward. It's basically, you might need to fill in these tokens if they haven't already filled in. So it's basically ref campaign step assigned to lead manager. If that's yes, so if this field right here is yes, and the lead manager of the lead is not empty, then it's going to use the team member's name, the lead manager's name, basically. Otherwise, it's going to use whoever you put here, their name. Then we need to clear collected team members, search for items in team members where field member's name is equal to, we want to add in our search name variable. We're then going to search for another item. This time we're going to use our settings app. And this is where that record ID comes in. That record ID where we put 1, you never want to change that. Make sure your settings record always has record ID as number 1, because these flows that we're going to be building are going to search for that based off that record ID having a value of 1. So we can add in 1 here. Then we want another variable. This is where there's quite a bit of code. So we're going to do seller last. Grab it from here. Just realized I haven't made this token blue, but I'll make it blue before anyone gets their hands on it. And then we'll change this token here to our seller's full name field. So basically the lead's full name. Seller's full name. So this is just getting the seller's last name, basically. We then want a city variable, grabbing it from here. Copy and paste it in. We're just replacing these. So property address city is going to be property address city is not equal to blank, then city. Otherwise, replacing this token here, make sure you're just removing what I'm removing. Then we want property, our full address field. So none of these in parentheses, just the property address field at the top. So what this is doing is sometimes Podio fields don't format the address properly. So if the address that you have in Podio is not kind of a Google recognized address, what I mean by that is if I was to remove USA right here, you can see I get a pop-up. If I select this, this will recognize the city. However, if I was to just put in something else, maybe automation has created the lead or something like that, typically this won't be a Google recognized address. So when we try and use the city token, it's going to be empty. So what we do is check if the city's empty. And if it is, we basically take the value between the first comma and the second comma, like this. All right. And then we want another variable. This one's going to be address. And this basically does the same thing. If it's not Google recognized, we take everything before the first comma. And if it is, then we just use the address field. So all we need to do is replace this with the address field, the one that's in parentheses. And there we go. The rest should fill itself out. And we'll call this address, all in lowercase. Then we want another variable, and this is going to be called task title. I mean, you could just, if you've got the cheat sheet code, you could just copy the name from there. And then we're going to copy this and paste it in here. So this is basically taking the title and replacing any of the tags. So in your campaign steps, you're able to add any of these tags into the title as well. So you could say, it could be follow up with first name. I wouldn't just type first name, just copy it from up here. But then you're saying follow up with George if the seller's first name is George Clooney or whatever. So, all right. So we come here and then we just need to replace our tokens. Some have done it automatically, as you can see. But for the ones that haven't, then we're going to just replace this with task title. Replace this variable right here with our seller last variable. Replace this city one here. Just be careful that you're not removing anything that doesn't need to be removed. Replace that with city, our city variable. And then one more, replacing this with our address variable right here. Then we want another variable. This is going to be called task description. And then we're just going to grab this code right here, paste it in, replace this top one. Description. We want the ref campaign step task description. And then that's it. Everything else gets filled in for us. Perfect. Now I'm just, at this point, I'm going to hit save just to make sure all of our hard work doesn't somehow get lost. So I'll hit save, then come back in and hit edit. Lots. We've done a lot. All right. So at this point, this is where we create our task. Now, if you followed along with all the other demos, feel like a broken record saying that all the time, you'll have a tasks app. I recommend having a tasks app just because you have a way better overview of the tasks. But if you don't have a tasks app, you can use Podio's built-in tasks. So what you would do is, this is only if you're using Podio's built-in tasks. You would just assign task, select the user. The user would be your ref team members, Podio members. Your title would be variable task title. Due date is going to be current date. And then the full details would be your variable task description. That's it. But we're not going to do that. We're using a tasks app. You might think this is actually more work using tasks app. It is a few more fields to fill out, not that many, but it's well worth it. So we're going to create a new item in our tasks. We're going to silent hook event. Title, just like I just did, is going to be our variable task title. Status will be new. Then related item, I'm going to put related item here, is going to be current seller lead item. Assigned to is going to be ref team members, this one here, the long one. Then due date is going to be current date and time. Then we've got task description is going to be our description variable. Any more? Task type will be follow up. And then right down the bottom, this task assigned to field, we can add in ref team members, Podio members. And then what I like to do as well, under this task description, I like to put in exactly what we put here. So created by step number. This just means that, you know, when they get assigned this task, they know it's a drip campaign task. So I'll add that there. I'm going to do end if and continue. So by adding continue, it just means it's going to do the exact same thing, checking all of these variables over again for each step that we add in. So great. This flow at this point is ready to send the steps. There's only a few more steps that we need to do now to make sure that the next step, which will be step number 2 of this drip campaign, continues to send. So we want to do sanity. If, this is where we add in our next action num x days variable. Going to put if that is equal to null, then I'm going to update item, update the drip campaign status to drip campaign completed, silent, and hook event, end if. So it's basically saying, if there's no next step, mark the drip campaign status as completed. Want another sanity? We can copy and paste this. If it's not equal, so just add an exclamation mark there. We want our variable, next send date. And this is a really complicated variable because what it does is it takes the number that's in the step 2 or step 3 or whichever step we're currently on. It basically takes this number. So if we put 3 here, it basically takes this number, and then out of this number, if you've got any of these checked, it checks if it's a weekend, it checks if it's a holiday date, and based off this information, it creates the next send date of the campaign. So a bit of a complicated variable. Copy and paste it from here, but does a great job. So once we've done that, the only thing we need to replace is this skip weekends. The rest filled in for us. Skip weekends, and then we've got this skip holiday here. Skip holidays, and I think, no, there's something we're missing. Where, there it is. Send date. So we want to add in our next send date field in our seller leads. And there we go. Cool. And then we're going to update item. So we're going to, just in case you didn't see that, that was quite at the bottom of the page. Update item, silent. We don't need to add a hook here. So we will update the campaign status to drip campaign in progress. The next send date, change it to calc, add in the variable we've just created, next send date variable. And then the next one we're going to do is next step number to send, change it to calc, and then put int val, open parentheses, add in our step number variable, close parentheses, plus 1. All right, so it's just making sure that if this is step number 1 that's sending, the next step number is 1 plus 1, so 2. And then we can do end if. Not far now, just a few more steps. Next thing we're going to do is another sanity. We're going to do if action num name is not equal to blank. So if the next action name is not equal to blank, this is where we check whether you've assigned another drip campaign as the next action. Just keep in mind that if you assign another drip campaign as a next action, it has to be alone. You can't have 2 drip campaign steps and a drip campaign action. The drip campaign has to be alone. So we can do next action num names not equal to blank. We're going to do clear collected items. We're going to clear collected drip campaign. Then we're going to search for items in drip campaign where field drip sequence name is equal to var next action num name. Make sure you're not selecting next action num x days. We got next action num name. Sanity if Podio item ID ref drip campaign Podio item ID is not equal to empty. Update. Looking for our drip campaign field. Update that with ref drip campaign drip campaign items. Next step number to send will be 1 and then silent. Don't select hook here, just silent. And then we're gonna comment on collected. Silent, changing drip campaign to, and then we're gonna just do ref drip campaign drip sequence name. And if sanity, just 2 more minutes. Then we want if ref drip campaign drip sequence status is equal to inactive, comment error double asterisk, the drip campaign assigned to this lead is currently inactive. And we can mark that as silent. I mean, you don't have to add this comment if you don't want to, but I don't know, I think it's nice to add the comment. We can add the comment or you can not add the comment. It's basically just commenting if the drip campaign, for some reason, at some point you've marked as inactive instead of active, it's going to put a comment on each lead that the drip campaign tried to run for, saying that it's inactive. And then we're going to update the item to drip campaign status. Drip campaign status is equal to stop drip campaign. Silent, hook event, and end if. Done. We've done the flow completely. I hope we've made no mistakes because we're about to clone it 10 times. Before we move on, I quickly have to come in from the future, and there is 2 small mistakes we've made in this. So let's fix it right now. And then when you clone this flow another 10 times, then you won't need to come back and fix it again. So if we just go down, the first small mistake is where we have here action type not equal to tasks. We need to remove this S, so it should just be not equal to task. That's it. And then the other really small quick fix we have to make is when we scroll right down here, we've got equal to null, not equal to null. We need to remove null and simply put double quote, so blank basically, and do the same right down here. All right, and that's it. We'll continue with the video now. So let's save it. Now we're going to go into the cloning stage. To do that, all we need to do is make sure this is selected. We're going to select this drop down here, copy, and then just wait for it to load. There's only a few fields we have to change from here. It takes a bit of time to load sometimes. But once we've done those fields, we just save it and keep going. I'll probably do the first 4 or 5 on screen and then probably just fast forward. But we need to meet again at number 10 because number 10, the end of it is slightly different, but it's not much. All right, here we go. Took a good few minutes, but we got there. Great, so once it's loaded, these are the things we have to change. Now, we have to make sure that each of these things has changed or it won't run properly, but they're all at the top, hence why we added the variables right here at the top of the page. So first we're going to remove copy of. We're going to change 2.0.0 to 2.0.1. Going to change step 1 to step 2. We're going to come here where it says action 1. We're going to change this to number 2. We're going to change this 1 here to number 2. And then we're just going to come here, type in 3, add it here, replace this one, number 3, and that's it. Everything else stays exactly the same, and we just save. Great, then we go again. Wait for it to load again. And off we go again. Remove copy of. 2, 3. Change this to number 3. Change this to number 3. Remove this. Type in 4, 4, and 4. Hit save. And off we go again. Copy. While it's loading is a good time to take a sip of coffee. Again, removing copy of. Add in a 1 to here. Add in a 1 here. Changing action 3 to action 4. Changing this to 4. And then changing this to 5. So I'll probably stop here. So if you go ahead and do that, basically until number 9, duplicate number 9. So then we've got number 10. And once you're at number 10 is where we need to just change the end a little bit, but come back when you've done that. All right, so I'm just finishing number 9 now. So action 9, 9, 10, 10, everything as normal. Hit save. So then from here, I'm going to clone number 9 again. Copy. So it starts off pretty much the same. We just add 1 here. Change this to step number 10. Change this to step number 10 as well. Add in 10 here. And then these ones we don't need. We can remove these 2 variables. And then all we want to do is scroll right down to the bottom. Scroll up a little bit more. So here, where we create a task. So we have end if continue for each. And then here, we can remove this sanity. Just keep this as drip campaign completed. And then remove this. Remove this, remove this. Remove, remove, remove. We're removing everything until we get to this one where it says equal to inactive. So remove. Oh, I removed the wrong one. Don't worry. We can go back. Remove, remove, remove. Update item. Drip campaign status equal to completed. Silent hook event. End if. And there we go. So yours should look exactly like mine. So after your task brick, end if, continue for each, update to completed, end if, and then this part here. If you've made a mistake and you're all confused about what's been deleted, happens to me a lot, just refresh your page. It'll kind of refresh the flow and then you can start again. But yeah, essentially this is how it should look. And then hit save. And there we go. We've got all of our drip campaign send flows now. We still have quite a few flows that, well, not, yeah, we still have quite a bit to add, but we're making good progress. Let's just get on with it. So the next thing we're going to do is create the flows that trigger these flows. So when we hit begin drip campaign or unpause a campaign, we need to set up that automation. So let's get into it. The next flow we're going to add is new flow, manual flow, and then we'll call this 1.1.6 drip campaign marked as begin. From there, we want to get the reference drip campaign, forward drip campaign, follow references to another app, campaign steps, forward, action 1. We're then going to do if drip campaign. So if drip campaign is equal to blank, comment, we'll leave it as unsilent, and the error message will be something like error unable to begin drip campaign, no drip campaign has been added to the drip campaign field. So we're basically in our seller leads, we're checking if drip campaign right here has a value. If it doesn't, then we'll throw that error message. But if it does, so we'll do another sanity. If drip campaign's not empty, and action 1 X days after start is empty. So we're basically saying if drip campaign isn't empty, but the action 1 X days after start is empty, then we need a different error message. We can do error and then something like action 1 X days after start has no value. Because if we try and run a drip campaign where the action X days after start, so this field here basically, is empty, then we'll have no idea how to start the drip campaign. So we have to make sure that has a value. All right, then we'll do another sanity. Then we'll do if drip campaign is not equal to blank and action 1 X days start is also not equal to blank, comment, put it bold as well, get the drip campaign name. So it'll be something like test campaign, drip campaign, now in progress. And close our bold out. And then end if. This one I am going to make silent. So error messages, I tend to not do silent. And then normal messages that are just kind of updating you in system progress, I'll make silent. So in between our end if, so we're kind of just building the flow now. We're going to update item. We'll find our drip campaign begin date will be current date. Pause date, we'll just make sure that's unset. And next step number to send, we'll also make unset, just in case there was values in there from previous campaigns. So if we're changing campaign or something like that, and that we can mark as silent. I'm then going to add a variable. I'm just going to call it sleep. And I just want it to wait for 15 seconds. So it just sleep, open parentheses, 15, close parentheses. Then we're going to add another variable, call it next send date. And if we go to our cheat sheet code, we should see this next send date here. And we can just copy this, paste it in here. And that field already fills itself out. And then this one, we can just replace with current date. We're then going to update item, find our next send date field. There we go. Change that to calc. Add in our next send date variable. Mark it as silent. And then next step number to send field. And mark that as 1. And then we're going to do one more sanity. And here we're going to do if. We're just going to find our action 1 X days after campaign start is equal to 0. We're then going to update item. Next send date. Do next send date will be current date. And then we're going to trigger flow. And then we're going to trigger our step 1 flow. And then end if. So basically, if you hit begin drip campaign and you've put 0, so it starts straight away, we want to then trigger step 1 straight away. Maybe you've put 2. So when you hit begin drip campaign, you want the drip campaign start 2 days later, then in that case, we're not going to trigger this straight away. We're just going to wait. So that's why we do it like this. And then we can hit save. We're then going to add another flow. When an item is updated, we'll call this 1.1.5. And then we'll do if drip campaign status has just changed, and if drip campaign status is equal to begin drip campaign, and if previous, we're going to do field previous value match, drip campaign status before was not equal to drip campaign paused. If an incoming text comes in, we're going to automatically mark the drip campaign status as drip campaign paused. So then to unpause the drip campaign, you'll be able to either select drip campaign in progress or begin drip campaign. But we only want the flow that we've just created, so trigger flow. We only want the drip campaign marked as begin flow to trigger when we're starting a brand new fresh campaign. We don't want it to trigger if we're just unpausing a current campaign that's already running. So that's why we set it up like this. And that's all we need to do. We can then hit save. The next thing we're going to do is we'll create another flow, item updated, 1.1.7. We'll call it drip campaign paused. So if drip campaign status has just changed and drip campaign status is equal to drip campaign paused, we're then going to update the item. Pause date. Pause date is going to be current date. Mark that as silent. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get referenced items, get reference communication items, reverse, contact for each. So what we want to do, a drip campaign, as I said, is going to get paused when someone responds. So if that person's responded, just as we're about to send another step, they're going to know straight away that it's some kind of automated follow-up campaign. So if they respond and the drip campaign gets paused, we want to also pause all of the steps, the emails and texts that might be outstanding. So what we do is for each ref communication item, add a sanity. If action status, ref communication action status is equal to pending, then we're going to update collected communications, silent, action status, paused, end if, continue for each. All right, so we want it to look exactly like that. If it's marked as paused, the pause date is current date. We get all the communication, check if the action status is pending, so they're outstanding. If they are, we update that particular communication record to action status paused, and then keep checking the others. And that's it. Done with that flow. So now what we want to do is add in one more flow. This is the last flow for the seller leads app that we're doing for the drip campaign. So when an item is updated, 1.1.8 drip campaign updated from paused. So if drip campaign status has just changed and the previous value drip campaign status before was equal to drip campaign paused. So there's two actions we're basically going to take if a drip campaign's been paused. Either we're going to kind of continue the campaign or we're going to stop the campaign. So first we're going to do sanity, and then we're going to do if drip campaign status is equal to begin drip campaign. So again, don't forget that what we can do is simply go to seller leads, making sure we're not making any typos, basically. So we can find our fields that we added in, which will be here. So we're basically saying if it's begin drip campaign, we can paste it in here, or the status is drip campaign in progress. Get reference items, drip campaign, forward, any field. We'll add a comment. We can do something like drip campaign sequence name, drip campaign now in progress. Pretty much the same comment as we did before. You can mark that as silent if you want. Then we need to do somewhat of a complex calculation. So if we go to our cheat sheet code, we can see this calculation right here. Basically what it does, because the drip campaign works off continue X days after previous step. So if the drip campaign's been paused for a week, it will put everything out of whack if we don't update the next send date to be relevant to how many days it's been paused for. So what we need to do is basically create this code. And this code will update the next send date while keeping into account whether we're skipping weekends, whether we're skipping holidays, and all that type of stuff. So it looks complicated. It is quite complicated, but we just need to fill out all our tokens. If you're not using the cheat sheet code, I think you can probably do it. It's all there on the screen. Just take your time and try not to make any mistakes. Easier said than done, I know. Send date. And we're going to find the skip weekends field here. And then we've got one here where it's skip holidays. Perfect. And I think, is that everything? Nope. Oh, here we go. Pause date right here. How's that looking? There we go. There's only a few tokens to fill out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But the rest of the code will just do its thing. So from there, we can update item, update this seller lead record, find the next send date, calc, and then add in our days diff variable. And then we want to update the drip campaign status to drip campaign in progress. And then what we also want to do is update the pause date to unset it, and then end if. So keep in mind, there's two different actions that we can do. Like I said, we're either going to resume the campaign or we're going to stop the campaign and all of the steps. So there might be some steps outstanding that will currently be paused, but we just want to update them to be stopped. So what we're going to do is create a variable called status. And then I'm just going to grab it from the cheat sheet code, but it's pretty simple. It's basically just if campaign status, if the drip campaign status is equal to begin drip campaign, or the drip campaign status is equal to drip campaign in progress, then pending, otherwise stopped. Then we're going to get reference items, communications, reverse, contact. And then again, for each communications item, sanity, if action status is equal to pending or action status is equal to paused, Then we're going to update collected, communications, action status here, calc, silent, status variable, end if, and continue for each. Perfect. All right. That's it. That's all of the flows done in the Seller Leads app. There's a few flows to add, few flows to update, but we're really close. We're really close. So if you've connected SmrtPhone, what you'll notice, well, you won't notice, is that your SmrtPhone app doesn't, or your communications app, doesn't have this source item ID field. This is created by SmrtPhone, so you can't add this yourself. But we're going to kind of force SmrtPhone to create it for us. So making sure in the settings app, you have your SmrtPhone API key filled out. And I recommend just filling out all of the other details, just because you'll need them for different flows and we'll need them a bit later as well. So we're going to force it to add the source item ID for you. So what we're going to do, we're going to create a manual flow. We can just call this whatever. We're going to delete it afterwards. I know I said we weren't doing any more flows in the Seller Leads, but technically this flow isn't staying, so it doesn't count. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add a variable. Well, actually, before we do that, we'll do a search. We're going to search for settings where field record ID is equal to 1. Again, making sure if you've created the settings record yourself, make sure that record ID has a value of 1. If you're using the beginner's wholesale system, by default, your settings record will have a value of 1, as long as you mark it as main record. I recommend you should only ever have one record in the settings app. So just have one record, mark it as main record, and the record ID will then always be 1. So then from there, we're going to create a variable. We'll call it phone from. And in here, you're just going to add one of your SmrtPhone numbers. So I'm going to add mine in as one of my SmrtPhone numbers. And then we need another variable. Phone 2. Here, we're just going to add any number, but it has to be like a real number. So I recommend just adding your personal number or something like that. So I'm going to add in another one of my SmrtPhone numbers. Make sure that the number you're adding in is just the numbers, no dashes or anything like that. And then we're going to do HTTP. Oh, we'll add in one more variable as well. We'll just call it message. And then we can just put test. Okay, and then we'll just call this send test. Doesn't really matter. Change this to post. So in case you didn't see how to get that up, it's just remote HTTP call right here. Select opt. And then, again, this is in the cheat sheet code, but it's not much code. So this is what we're going to put in the header. And then we're going to just add in the API field that we pull from the settings record. Then the URL is right here. And then the params going to be this right here. And then we just need to replace these tokens with our variable. So phone 2. This says from number, but whatever your phone from is. Again, this should be a SmrtPhone number. And then message is going to be the message variable we have right there. And then the Podio item ID will just be the Seller Leads Podio item ID. It can be any records Podio item ID. Just make sure you're putting something here. All right, and then we can just hit SimVars. Just run on any record. Make sure you have a record or you won't be able to kind of do this. But there we go. So now, once you've done that, you can, and it's successful, you don't have any error message, you've got a text basically. You can then just press cancel. You don't even need to save this. So we don't have it here. And then if you come back over to your communications app and you look at the most recent message, scroll down, you'll see you have the source item ID field. If you don't, then reach out to SmrtPhone, but you should have it at this point. And then what you need to do is, again, come here and hit refresh from Podio. A new field's been added. So we need to do a refresh to sync Podio and Globiflow. The next thing we're going to do is update and add some flows in our communications record. So first I'm going to update this new communication created record. So what we want to do is just above here, we'll do an if sanity check. So we'll do if type is equal to outgoing text. Again, important how you write that. And source item ID is equal to blank. We're then going to put variable. Going to just wait. Sleep 10. We're just going to wait 10 seconds to give SmrtPhone chance to add the source item ID if it's going to be added. And if. And then we want to do if source item ID is equal to blank. And then we can put an end if right at the bottom here. And then just in between that, we want to do another sanity. If source item ID is not equal to blank, put an end if right below that. Then in between those, we do delete. Make sure, mark it silent, but make sure this authentication right here is your email address. So whatever email you've created your account with, it'll be there. All right, so that's it. So basically what we're saying here is if it's an outgoing text, we're basically checking if automation sent it. If it did send it, then we want to delete that record. If it didn't send it, then do a whole lot of other things. But the reason we delete it is because when we push a drip campaign action, we send a message via SmrtPhone. We already have that record in our communications app. So we don't want two records of the same text in our communications app. So we delete the one that SmrtPhone posts and keep the one that we added via the drip campaign because that has all of the information that we need. The next thing we need to do is update some of these fields. So first, I'm going to add a from email variable. And in here, I'm going to add, do we have this from email variable right here? Copy it in. So we're basically, if the type, so if it's an outgoing email or incoming email, and company email is equal to blank, company email is equal to blank, then we're grabbing the seller-facing email that you've put in your settings app. We're grabbing that field and we're going to add it in. So seller. Oh, okay. I don't see it because first, just under here, if source item ID is equal to blank, we'll do a search for items, grab our settings record where record ID is equal to 1. And then we're just going to then seller facing email. Okay, so search for the settings and then add the variable. We're then going to update this record here. So again, go to the cheat sheet code and we have this show default. You can copy this and add it in. For those that are not using the cheat sheet code this time, but maybe have already done this in the setting up SmrtPhone video, I'll show you the only two things you need to add. So the only two things you need to add are basically these two blocks here. But if you've done the setting up from the SmrtPhone video, you'll want to remove this and remove this and don't include this or this. So basically you're just adding this and this. So we're going to fill out the different bricks here. There'll be contact email. email body. These are all the fields we added earlier on at the beginning. Anything left? From email. It's our variable. And there we go. So that's everything we needed to add there. We then need to update our name field. Again, we have this variable right here. So we can grab this one right here. Again, if you don't have the cheat sheet code but have done the smartphone setup, really all we're adding is this right here. And then you'll need to add a end closing parenthesis here. I always forget parenthesis. In the UK, we just call it bracket. I'm pretty sure anyway. All right, so that's all you need to do there. And then you can hit save. So the next thing we want to do is update this show field right here. So we're basically going to put exactly the same code as we did in the creation flow. So you can just go ahead and copy it from the flow that we've just done. So we're just going to update this show field. Then just before we edit that, make sure we add a from email variable. And in here, we're just going to add company email this time. That's all we need. We don't need any calculation. So we can then go ahead and add in the contact email here. From email right here. Add in our variable from email. Email body. And what are we missing? Just this URL right here. All right, cool. And then we have already this name variable here. We don't need to change that, but what we will do is where we have name here, just make sure we change this to calc. And then we're going to do if, so we'll just find our communications name field equal to unknown. Then we'll put in our name variable, otherwise name. So we're basically saying if the communications name field has a value of unknown, then we're going to add this variable. Otherwise, we're going to leave the name field as is. All right, perfect. Hit save. Oh, actually, one more thing we want to add to this show field is just going to press this twice. And then we're going to select field change for both of these. Make sure or. And then change this to text message and change this one to email body. Okay. So we just want this flow to run if the text message body has changed or the email body has changed as well. And then hit save. All right, we're actually not that far off. We probably have 4 or 5 more flows to do, but most of them are straightforward. We have 2 slightly longer ones, but they're not too bad. But let's just carry on. So add new flow. And we'll do manual flow this time. 1.0.7. Send SMS trigger smartphone. I'm just going to call it like this. Cool. And from here in the filters, I'm just going to do if type is equal to outgoing text. This isn't 100% necessary, but it's going to help us when we're testing it later on. So then we're going to do get reference items, select seller leads, forward contact, follow references to another app. We want drip campaign, forward drip campaign. Then we want get reference items again. Again, we're going to get reference seller leads, forward contact, follow references to another app. Then we're going to get team members, forward lead manager. We're then going to search for items. We're going to get our settings record again. You know the drill by now, where record ID is equal to 1. And then we're going to add a variable. I'm going to call it smartphone auth. And this is just going to be our smartphone API key. We're then going to add another one. We'll call it from number. And this is just going to be our smartphone number from our communications app. Then want another one. We'll call this first name. So we're going to be creating quite a few variables now to insert later on. This is going to be explode, open parentheses, double quotes, space, double quotes. Then we're going to get the seller's full name, close parentheses, square bracket open, 0, square bracket closed. This basically gets the first name from the seller's first name field. Then we want variable last name. Again, if you just add them with the names that I'm adding them, it'll make it much easier for you to understand later on. So the last name is just going to be this code here. And this basically gets the seller's last name. We're then going to add seller address. And then you can grab this code from here. It's not that complicated, but grab it anyway. And it's basically just, as we've discussed before, sometimes the address isn't filled out. So we're checking if the address is empty. If it is, then we're getting everything before the comma. Otherwise, we're using the address. We can do the same for city. Grab it from here. But again, it's just city. And there we go. Next, we're going to do lead manager first name. And that is just, grab that from here. Lead manager first name. So we're checking if lead manager is not empty. If it's not empty, then we're using the team member's name. Otherwise, we're going to use the system owner's full name. That's why we added that system owner's full name field in settings before, because we need something to fall back on if the lead manager doesn't have a value. Then we're going to default to using the system owner's full name. Then we can add another variable and it'd be lead manager's full name. And probably have that one here. Although it's very simple. It's basically just if lead manager's not empty, then ref team member's name. Otherwise, system owner's full name. Then add in one more. I'm going to call this body. So this is going to be the body. So basically the text that we're sending. And this will basically just replace the variables. So as I showed you before, in our campaign steps app, we have these variables that we can use. So right here. So you can see that we're basically just replacing them here. So here we're going to add our text token, text message field from the communications app. And you can see it's str replace. So string replace this value with our first name token. First name variable. And if this doesn't exist, so you haven't used it, for example, then it'll just do nothing. But if it's there, it's going to replace it. So here, we're going to use our last name variable. Here, we're going to add our city variable. And then here, we got our seller address variable. Lead manager's first name variable. and then lead manager's full name. Type in full lead manager's full name. And there we go. Good to go. This is why it's super important that when you're setting it up, you just copy and paste what's here with the square brackets. And because it's case sensitive, it needs both of the square brackets. So yeah, it's just really important. And then we're just going to add, oh, looks like we have missed to add one here. Let's see, where are we? Looks like I added a extra F there by accident. Now we're good to go. Okay, this is going to be called call notes. So the call notes, what I want to basically do is if we send this to multiple numbers, in the communication record call notes, I want to basically comment what numbers it was sent to just for our overview. So first, what we're going to do is going to do substring, so SUB, open parentheses. Then we're going to do call notes, comma, 0, comma, -4, close parentheses, dot, double quotes, \n, sent to, colon, left arrow, / p, right arrow, double quotes. So what we're doing is, under the existing call notes we already have, we're putting sent to. So, sanity, if params, so SMS params is equal to, double quotes, and I'm just going to go ahead and grab it from here. There's no point trying to type it out. Go to drip campaign, hit modify template, and grab send to all owners associated numbers, and then close the quotes out. We'll do for each contact number, add a variable, call it phone2, and then we're going to grab this variable right here. So you can see here in the code cheat sheet, there's first and the second. They're slightly different, so you want to grab the first one this time, and then just replace this with the communication contact number field. And then we're going to do a HTTP call. Send message via smartphone. Doesn't really matter what you call this, but I'm just going to call it send message via smartphone. Post. We're doing exactly what we did earlier on. So we can go ahead and grab the HTTP code that we copied before. We're just adding all this in. You could use this. We created a variable for it. It's up to you which one you use. I'm just going to, because we created the variable, I will add the smartphone auth variable. And then the URL, https phone.smart.studio/sms/send. And then the body is going to be all of this. And we're just replacing our variables. Phone2, going to be phone2. From, going to be from number. Message, be our variable str body, string body. And then the Podio item ID, we'll put the communications Podio item ID. You can put sell leads, you can put settings, it doesn't matter. As long as we're pushing some kind of Podio item ID, we'll then recognize that this record that smartphone will create when we send this message needs to be deleted later. Then we're going to capture any errors. So we're going to check for errors. So if error is equal to blank, so there's no errors, which is a good thing. All right, so then we want to add in another variable, call it call notes. Make sure it's the exact same name as this one up here. And then we could go ahead and copy this. You can get up until the dot and just replace the communication call notes with our call notes variable token. Then we're going to do double quotes, \n +1 double quotes, dot, our phone to variable, dot, left arrow, forward slash, lowercase p, right arrow, double quotes. We'll do end if, continue for each, and then end if. So what this will do is it'll just basically add to our call notes variable what numbers were the text message was sent to. So if it's sent to 5 phone numbers, we'll should have a list of 5 phone numbers at the end of this, at the end of the for each loop. So then what we can do is we can grab this, campaign parameters equal to send to all associated numbers. We can add in another sanity and then just remove one of the equals and replace with a exclamation mark. So if it's not, if the parameters are not equal to this, so basically if we're just sending 1 to 1 number, then our var phone 2 will be our second phone 2 variable. We go back down to our 1 point. Here it is. Phone 2 variable second, and we can grab this, paste it in, and everything is auto populated. And then we want another HTTP call. So we're basically going to do exactly the same. So we can just go ahead and copy everything in. Copy, paste. Copy, paste. Be sure to change this to post. Oh, and then it deletes our body if you've already pasted that in. We can go ahead and do it again. And then our headers, we can go ahead and add them back in. Then again, we want our call notes variable. And in here, we're just going to put exactly what we put in here. So we can copy it in, paste it, end if. From here, we will update item, update our call notes, there it is, and add in our call notes variable. Mark that as silent. And you'll probably want to mark it as hook event as well, actually. From there, we're going to do another sanity. And then we're going to check for an error again. If error is equal to blank, and I'm going to add in a variable, call it show. Then what we want to do is str underscore replace, open parentheses, double quotes, left arrow, forward slash, left arrow, lowercase b, lowercase r, forward slash, right arrow. And then you can just copy this, paste it in again, double quotes, comma, double quotes, paste in your code again, comma, add in our string body variable, and close parentheses. So here we're basically, sometimes it will have 2 spaces, but in our show field, it'll look much cleaner if we just have 1 line break. So that's what we're doing. Okay, then from here, we're just going to update item, action status will be sent, in silent and hook event this as well. Send date will be current date and time, and text message will be our show variable. Great, and then we'll add one more variable. We'll call this date sent, and then we'll just type in date, open parentheses, double quotes, capital F, lowercase j, capital S, space Y, space H, colon, I, double quotes, comma, STRTOTIME, open parentheses, current date and time, and then 2 close parentheses. Then we want a comment, add a comment to this item, and we'll comment on collected, and we'll just do text message sent, add in our date sent variable, and we'll add in our str body variable here, string body, copy it into here, select seller leads. And then I'm just going to mark both of these as silent. They don't need to be. You don't need to be notified when this posts, in my opinion. And then end if. All right, nearly done. We're just going to grab this sanity. If error is not equal to blank, update item. We're going to update the action status to error. Oh, error. Silent. And then we're going to add a comment to this item. Add a comment. Oh, we want to comment on collected. And we'll do something like error sending automated text message. And then we can just put our Globiflow most recent error. Okay. And I will mark it as silent for the comment on this item. But for this one, I will not mark it as silent. So you'll get notified if there's an error, and then end if. And that's it. This is now our SMS flow. We can save it. Great. Sit back and relax for a second. And then we'll move on to our email flows. So for the email flow, what we can do to save a bit of time is we'll copy this smartphone flow. Press copy. We will be deleting a lot of fields, but it'll save you having to add in the variable fields right at the top. So we're going to call it copy of 1.0, so 9, and then send email trigger part 2. So then we can change if type is equal to outgoing email. And then all of this stays the same. But what we'll want to do is remove the smartphone auth, remove the from number. We'll add 2 more variables. We'll do email from. So then here we're going to put company email. If company email is equal to blank, then we're going to do seller facing email. Again, we should have this in our settings record. Then seller facing email, otherwise company email. And then here it's going to be from name. And then we'll do if email from name, communications email from name is equal to blank, then we can get the seller facing email from name field from our settings. So ref settings, seller facing from name, seller facing email from name, otherwise email from name. Great. So then all of this stays the same. What we'll want to do is, for speed's sake, I mean, we do have them here in our cheat sheet code, but it's essentially all the same. So what I'm going to suggest you do is leave this as is, but remove this text message brick up here and add in email body, communications email body. And then under this, we'll add another variable and we'll call this str subject. And then you can just copy this, paste it in here, and right at the top, remove where it says email body and add in email subject. Oh, another thing that you need to make sure of is there's a second text message field here. Change this to email body for the email body one. And then here for the email subject, change it here. Perfect. Then from here, under the email subject, we're going to remove everything else. So just delete, 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 delete. All right. Delete everything under this new variable you've just created. So from here, we're going to add in a sanity check and we're going to do email params. So again, this is where we copy this. So if email params is equal to send to all owners associated emails, we're going to create HTTP and then we'll call this email list array. We'll just change this to post and we'll type in local host, just like that. From here, we're going to copy that, add in a variable with the exact same name. And then here, we're going to type in email, and we want the ref seller's email address. We basically want the seller leads seller's email address field. And what we also want to do is update the item, update the contact email field, not the company email, the contact email field with also the seller's email address. We'll mark that as silent. And then what we're going to do is for each, find the variable we just created. So it'd be the email list array variable. Create another variable, call it email2. And then we're going to do explode colon, find our email list array, close the parentheses, square brackets 1, close square brackets. And here's where we want our send email brick. Now I told you I was going to show you how to connect globe email, which we'll do right after we've done this email flow and then the one that triggers this one, so part 1. So here you want to add your variable email2. The from name is going to be, you can find your from name variable. Reply to address is going to be email from variable that we created above. And then the subject, string subject. And then the body is going to be our body variable. Perfect. And then we'll put continue for each and if. And then here we want another sanity. We go ahead and grab this one, paste it in, remove the exclamation mark equals. And then here that we want a variable. We'll call it email2. Make sure it's just basically the same name as up here, email2. And then this one's going to be a bit different in that we're going to grab this, the one we did before, but right at the beginning of this, we're going to put another explode, open parentheses, double quotes, comma, double quotes, comma, and then at the end, close the parentheses, square brackets, 0, close the square brackets, and then change this email list array variable and put in the seller's email address. All right, so this is basically just getting the first email in the seller's email address field. I'm going to update item, update the contact email, again, not the company email, the contact email, silent, put in our email2 variable, and then send an email. Send email, add in our email2 variable, add in our from name variable, add in our from email variable. That's email from, we got it under. Add in our subject and add in our body. And then end if. Perfect, nearly done with this one as well. So from here, we're going to add in a variable, show. Then we're basically doing the same thing as last time. str, replace, open, so double quotes, left arrow, br, /br. Go ahead and copy that. Add in another one. Close the double quotes, comma, double quotes, paste it in, close them, comma, and then get our body variable. And there we go, just one closed parentheses. And then we're going to update item. We're going to update the email body. We're going to update the email subject, and we're going to update the company email. And then we'll make sure to mark this as silent and hook event. This one is going to be our show. Email subject will be the subject. Company email will be the email from. And then another sanity. Then we're just going to check for our errors if we need to add any error messages. So if error is equal to blank, I'm going to put in, if you're going to use GlobeMail and send from your own domain, put in a wait of 30 seconds. You'll need it slightly down the road. So wait for 30 seconds. Update item. So action status, sent, and then the send date. Update that to current date and time. And then we're going to add in our comments. So comments on this item, comment on collected, collected seller leads, mark it silent, silent, do email, or we'll do automated email successfully sent. And then I'll do the same here. And if sanity, if error is not empty, pretty much the same as before. We're going to update the action status to error, mark it silent, comment, comment on collected, seller leads, silent, and actually we're not going to have the seller leads one as silent, but we'll have this one as silent. Just put error, sending automated email, and then add in our error message. Copy it, paste it in, and if. All right. And we can mark this as silent as well, in case you didn't already. And that's it. We're good to go. Can save that. So then what we need is one more flow. When an item is updated, call it 1.0.8, email trigger part 1. And remove this. We're going to get reference items, campaign steps, forward, step. And then from here, we'll just select attach files from ref campaign step, all files. And then from there, we just need to trigger flow step 2. The reason why we do this in 2 separate steps is if we want to send files within the email, we have to connect them first and then trigger step 2. So we can save on that. And one thing actually I forgot to do in step 2, we go back into step 2. So this basically just means that when you create a campaign step, if you're going to create an email campaign step, you can add files here. If you want to add any files, whatever you want, testimonials or whatever, you can add them in here and it'll be sent when you send the automated emails. So going back into part 2, we just want to make sure that here, attach item files, we put all files. Okay, same for the second one, all files. So that just means all files that are basically in the campaign step will be sent at the same time as sending the email. For GlobeMail, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what you need to do right at the end of this video. So we'll do everything else first, get the drip campaign set up, and then for those that don't want to connect GlobeMail, they can pretty much just stop watching at that point. And for those that do, I will show you right at the end. The final flow, we're going to add in the communications app. And then it's only date flows. We have 2 date flows, 2 or 3 date flows to add. They're pretty simple, pretty quick. And then we can move on to testing. So the final flow we're going to add here is new item, new flow, manual flow, 1.1.0, push unsent steps forward. So CRMs in general, they're not infallible. So there could be moments where for some edge case reason, a drip campaign step didn't send before the end of day. So we're going to set the end of day to be 7 p.m. You can change this however you want, but my end of day is going to be 7 p.m. So any steps that are still outstanding after 7 p.m., we're going to push them to tomorrow morning. So to do that, we're just going to get reference items, seller leads, and we're going to set up a date flow that will trigger this later, but we'll create it right now. So forward contact, I'm going to update collected, update seller leads, silent, and I'm going to find the next send date. So because we're going to send it tomorrow, we want that next send date to be the ref seller leads next send date plus 1. So we're basically just adding 1 because we want the intervals to stay the same. So because this step is going to be delayed 1 day, we want to delay the next send date by 1 day as well. And then we add in a variable. So we'll call this send tomorrow. And then if we look at our cheat sheet code towards the bottom, we'll see push unsent steps forward, send tomorrow variable, and we'll just copy this. It's not that long, so if you want to just copy it from the screen, you can. And then we're just going to replace this token right here with current date and time. And then from there, we're just going to update item, update this communication record, send date will be calc, and then add it in. Mark it as silent and save. That's all we need to do. All right, we're so close. We have a few more flows. It's not so easy to say, a few more flows. But first, before we do those, we have to add in some views. So what we'll do is we'll come to our system. We'll just go to the main page. And first, we'll start at seller leads. So in seller leads, we need a view that we can run against to check if drip campaign steps need to be sent to the communications app. So to do that, what we're going to do is we'll just select all leads at the top here. So this filter is empty. There's no filters there. And then what we'll do is we'll come in here and we'll find our drip campaign status field. And we'll select begin drip campaign and drip campaign in progress. And then we're going to select our next send date field. And we're going to select today. Okay, so basically now we've filtered out only records where the drip campaign status is equal to begin drip campaign or drip campaign in progress, and the next send date is today. Then what we're going to do is we're going to hit save over here, and we call this campaign steps sending today. And I'll just put do not delete. We'll save this in the private view, so only you, as the admin of the account, will be able to see this view. But we'll put do not delete just to remind you not to delete it. And then we can select save. So you won't see it here, but if you go here, we'll see it. But we just want it hidden away for the most part, just for automation to use. We're then going to go to our communications app, and we want to create 2 flows here. So what we're going to do is select the filter. So select all communications again. Make sure that we have nothing filtered. And then we're going to go to send date. And again, select today. We're then going to go to action status, select pending. And then we're going to go to type and select outgoing email. So this view is filtering only outgoing emails where action status is equal to pending and the send date is today. So then we can, again, hit save, and I'll call it pending emails do not delete. Again, save it in the private views, hit save, so we can see it here. What I'll then do is I'll click on it, make sure it's filtered, so we can see the number 3 here. And then I will remove outgoing email, select type, and put outgoing text, save as, create new view, pending texts, do not delete. Save in private views, hit save. Perfect. So now we can go back and create our automation. But first, let's do a quick refresh from Podio. We've added some views, so we need to do a quick refresh. So from here, we can go to by day or date right at the top. And we want to add new. You can see that I have some from other accounts, but maybe yours is empty here. But we're going to select new flow. I'm going to call it 1.0.0. We'll call it daily drip campaign flow. And then I'm going to change, so every day at every hour, and then remove this, add one, and add a custom calc. So here we're going to put date, double quotes, H, double quotes, comma, STRTOTIME, open parentheses, and then current date and time, double parenthesis, and then a right-facing arrow. So this is where you decide what time you want the messages to be sent out, kind of. So I'm going to send out messages between the hours of 9 and 7. Okay? So I don't want messages to be going out at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. You just become a nuisance, and it's a good way to bias all of your leads against you. So here, I'm going to check if the current hour is greater than 7. Keep in mind, my first messages are going out at 9 a.m. So an hour before that, I want the system to trigger the flows to create the records in my communication app, ready to send them, possibly at 9 a.m. But keep in mind that your flows, your emails and texts go out at a random time of the day, so it doesn't look automated. So there's no guarantee that if we create it in the communications app at 7 a.m., that it will go out at 9 a.m. It'll go out at a random time. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put is greater than 7. And we can copy this, put a left-facing arrow, is less than, I'm going to put 19. So it's basically saying, is the time between 8 a.m., so greater than 7, so it won't include 7, so is it between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m.? So between these times are when my records are going to be created in the communication app. Bit confusing, but I hope I explained it well. So here, we're going to get Podio view, and here's where you get the views that you just created. So we can go to seller leads. The app itself, you need to change this to your email address. So keep in mind that we've just created these flows privately. So to get the flows, we need to select the email address of the account that you're currently using. So I'm using demo@orata.io. And then we want to select campaign steps, send in today, do not delete. Put the limit as 999. And then we do for each ref seller lead item, sanity, if next step number to send is equal to 1, trigger flow on collected, seller leads, drip campaign step 1, and if. So now we want to do that same thing for all 10 steps. So I'll copy this in, sanity equal to 2, trigger flow on collected, seller leads, step 2, and if. So you can go ahead, take your time, and go through and do it. I'll just go ahead and do it now as well. Trigger flow on collected. I'll do the first 4 before I kind of fast forward it. Equal to 3, and if. Sanity, copy, add 1, trigger flow on collected, trigger step 4, and if. All right, I'll meet you when we get down to number 10. Okay, so we're at 10, end if, and then we want to do a continue for each. And that's it. That's how this one is going to work. Then we can hit save. Perfect. So the next one, call this 1.0.1. And here we're going to put email / SMS send trigger. Every day, every hour. And then here we're going to remove this again. So remove this, only keep the calc. And what you can do is you can actually just copy the code from the flow you've just done, because we want this at the top. So this is what really defines what time your messages are going to go out. So just replace the current date and time. Okay, so as I said, I want my messages to go out between 9 and 7. So what I'm going to do is check if the time is greater, if the hour is greater than 8 and the hour is less than 20. So it's basically checking for me, is it between 9 a.m. and 7 p.m.? You can put whatever you want here, but I recommend, these hours are sensible in my opinion. Then we want to get Podio view. Search the communications app for the view. Change the authentication again. Pending emails. Select 999. Then do for each communication item. Sanity. And then what you can do is copy this, add it in. Add in the token again. But you want to basically remove this, add equals, and then change the current date and time to send date. So it's basically now checking, is the current hour equal to the send date's hour? If it is, it's going to trigger flow on collected, communications, send email trigger part 2. Nope, important. It'd be, did we not? Okay. One thing we have to change quickly. We can just leave this, we can save it. But what we need to do is, before we can continue, we need to change, go to communications, email trigger part 1. Not sure why I have 2 of them. But change your email trigger part 1 from when an item is updated to manually by another flow. Okay, so that's really important. Save that. Okay, and not sure why I have 2, but I'm just going to delete that one. Cool. So what you want to do with this now is go back to your day and date, find the flow that you're just created, the email / SMS send trigger. And then now when you trigger flow on collected, select it again, you'll see email trigger part 1. So this is the one that you want basically. And if continue for each, then we're going to do a clear collected communications. And now we're going to do the same thing for our potential SMSs that are sending out. So we'll do communications. Change to your email again. Pending text. So here we've done pending emails. Now we're doing pending text. 999 for each communication. And just grab this up here. Sanity. Replace the token. Trigger. Communication. Then send SMS trigger smartphone. And if continue for each. There we go. That's all we need to do here. We can then hit save. The final one we're going to do is really quick. It's just going to be 1.0.2 push unsent steps forward every day, every hour, if custom calc date. We're just going to add in, if you want to copy it, you can go ahead. I'm just going to type it out quickly. Current date and time. Oh, make sure you're using the current date and time one, not just the current date. So if it's greater than 20, so keep in mind anything past 8 o'clock it's not going to send. So even past 7, but we'll put 20 just to add that little buffer. So if the hour is greater than 20, keep in mind if you've decided to send messages later than 7 p.m., you'll want to just make sure that this only triggers after your messages should have stopped sending. So if the hour is greater than 20, we're going to get Podio view, find our communications app, change to your email, select the pending emails. We can do 999, and then get Podio view again, communications, select your email, select the text one this time, 99, trigger flow on collected, communications, and then select your push unsent steps forward flow and save. We're done. So we've done all of the main flows. There is one flow I do recommend adding, and that's going to be a webhook. So in your webhooks, you can press add new. Now, if you're not doing globe email, this is going to be the last flow you need to add. First, what we need to do is, I'm just going to call it 1.0.0 smartphone numbers webhook. I'm going to copy this. If you're not using SmrtPhone, you can skip this bit. So copy the URL that's right here and hit save. Then what you want to do is go into your SmrtPhone account. I'm just going to quickly log in. So once you've logged in and you're in your dashboard here, if you go to admin, select webhooks here, new webhook, and then copy in the URL that you've just copied from your webhook. And in select events, you're gonna select update number friendly name, delete number, by number. So select those and then save webhook. Then, so we get some information in our webhook, you can just go to your phone numbers field and then edit something here. So edit your friendly name to be, I'll just call this demo number. You can change your friendly name to be whatever you want. You can either just change it, remove a letter, then add the letter back in. We just need to trigger the webhook. So now we can go back to our webhook flow and you'll see we get some information pushed here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable. I'm going to call it stripped phone. And I'm just going to do substring. So substr, add in the webhook phone. So you see where it says webhook phone, it's getting it from here. And then I'm going to do -10, close. So if we simulate vars, we just get the last 10 digits of the number. Now I'm going to search for items in our company contact numbers app, where field number digits only is equal to strip phone. Now I'm going to do if event. So we're using this webhook event field here is equal to. Now write this exactly as I'm going to write it, because although you don't see it here yet, it will get pushed when you buy a number, delete a number, etc. So I'm going to call this buy number. From here, when we buy a number, we want to automatically create an item in our company contact numbers. The friendly name, we just type in web, it'll come up with friendly name, the phone. For phone, we can actually use the stripped phone number variable, silent hook event, number type, put whatever here. You can always change it later. Subcategory, again, whatever you want. We'll just put other for now. Again, you can always change it when it comes into the system, and it means nothing at this point, really. It's just for your own knowledge. And if, and then we need another sanity. So here we're going to do if event is equal to double quotes, and this time we can actually just grab what they pushed. If you've updated the friendly name, perfect. Update number name and Podio item ID, ref company contact numbers Podio item ID, because remember we searched for it, is not equal to blank. Then update collected, company contact numbers, silent with friendly name, because that's the only thing you'll be updating. And if, and then the last one will be sanity. Oops, didn't mean to put the end if. Sanity, if the event is equal to delete number and ref company contact numbers Podio item ID is not equal to blank, trigger flow on collected, company contact numbers, delete number. Remember we created that delete number flow earlier on? Well, now is when we're deleting it. As said, if you delete the number in SmrtPhone, we'll delete it from Podio as well. And that's it. Save. Okay, so that's all of the flows done. If you're not doing Globiemail, you have no more flows to do. There is one small thing that I like to do. This is really optional, but it's just updating the, if we go into seller leads, you probably have the communication history calculation already, if you've been following along with all of the other demos. Where are we? Communication history right here. So this here, we're going to update it slightly. In the cheat sheet code, you have all of the code you need here. But if you've already got the everything what you see here, what I recommend you do is just from where you see var action status, drag down and just grab everything else. And then we can take that in and then just start from var items, remove everything and paste in the code. So what we want to do is just add in our show count back. The second show count, same for here. Second show count. And then we also want to do, add this, all of action status with nulls. And that's it. The rest stays the same. The only thing we're adding is this. And this bit of code here we're adding. And then we're just updating the, in case you haven't got the cheat sheet code and want to do it without it, we have added this, we've added this, and then we've put action status display, this variable right here. We've put it here. So you just need to find this area right here and add plus. But yeah, that's it. And then we can hit done. So now we're ready to test it. So to get ready to test it, we want to make sure we have a company. So making sure basically to start with, all of the fields are filled out in terms of system owner's full name, your API field, seller facing email, seller facing from name. These are 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the important ones for the automation. We then want to make sure that we have a number in our company contact numbers app. So I'm going to go ahead and add one of my SmrtPhone numbers. So I'll just put the friendly name as anything, number in, yeah, I'll just put campaign number, save. And then of course this should update to only be digits automatically, which it's done. And now we can create a drip campaign. So as I showed you right at the beginning, what I do for testing to make sure all of my fields get filled out and replaced as I want them to be is I just copy all of this and then I paste it in here. So this is going to be a step test, step 1, SMS. And this is the SMS body we're going to send this time. And then I'm going to basically, I'll clone this, call it test step 1 again, but mark the email. This is a test. Save. So now I have test step 1 email and I have test step 1 SMS. We can go ahead and create a task 1 as well. So let's just go new campaign step, task. This is a test, task. Assign it to lead manager, mark it as yes. And then I'll just put, as I said, we should always kind of put a fail safe. If there's no lead manager, assign it to Orata admin or whoever you want to assign it to. In previous demos, some of you guys have been adding me to your system. You don't need to add me here. You can add yourself or whatever. Okay, so we've got our 3 test steps here. I didn't put in an action name. Test step 1. So we got task as well. So we got test email, test task, test SMS. Then we can go to our drip campaign, add a drip campaign, test drip campaign, active. I'm just going to select first here, mark those as no, add in our campaign number, our smartphone number, and then in action 1, put all 3 of our tests, and then here, mark that as 0. The good thing is, if action 1 works, we know that 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. are going to work because all we did is copy them, as long as you replace those 3 fields at the top before you kind of saved each time you cloned, as long as you've done everything right from here. All right, so we've done our drip campaign, got a campaign step. Now we can go into seller lead, all seller leads, go to a test lead, and I'm going to change the number we're using here. I'll just put this number. We'll stick with this email. I'll just pull my email up. All right, so we got our email up. We can navigate to the drip campaign section, add in our test drip campaign. Okay, spoiler alert, there are a few errors. I hope you'll forgive me. It's quite a large tutorial, but the good news is they're pretty quick to fix, quickish, like 5 minutes, maybe 10. So first thing first, we're missing one flow, and that flow is 1.1.9. So let's go ahead and add it in. So we'll go new flow. When an item is updated, 1.1.9. This is going to be called drip campaign updated. Excuse the dog barking in the background. Hopefully he'll calm down soon. So we want to change this to drip campaign title. So if drip campaign title is changed, so basically if this is changed, we want to then update item, and we're going to unset a lot of the fields. So we're going to do campaign begin date. We're going to do pause date. We're going to do next send date. And we're going to do next step number to send. We're just going to unset all of these. And then I'm going to put var. I'm just going to put wait. And I'm going to sleep 20 seconds. So the reason why I want to wait 20 seconds is because I want to check if you've basically added a new drip campaign. So we only want to unset the drip campaign status if no drip campaign has been added. If we were to update the status by default, then when you want to begin the drip campaign, it's actually not going to run because it's going to have unset the drip campaign status. So we're going to wait to see if a new drip campaign is being added. And if it's not, so if drip campaign is equal to blank, update item, drip campaign status, unset, end if. All right. So then what we want to do is we want to come into seller leads, hit edit, and there's a few things we need to add here. So where it says outgoing text here, we're going to put and action status equal to blank, because we only want this comment to post if the action status is empty. And then down here under this end if, we're going to put sanity, and then we're going to put if, first we'll open parentheses, then we're going to put if campaign status, we want the ref seller lead drip campaign status is equal to, we can grab from here, begin drip campaign, or drip campaign status is equal to drip campaign in progress, close parentheses, double quotes, close parentheses, and str, istr, open parentheses, type, comma, incoming, close the double quotes, close parentheses. Then we want to update collected, seller leads, silent hook event, where drip campaign status, make sure you select drip campaign status, update that to drip campaign paused, and then we can add some kind of comment to the seller lead, saying something like drip campaign reply received, drip campaign reply received, drip campaign paused. We can do to unpause drip campaign, select, and then we can add in our select begin drip campaign or drip campaign in progress. There we go. We can mark that as silent if you want. If you don't want to, it's up to you. And if. Now, this is kind of an optional step, but some people, when they hit begin drip campaign, they want the first step to send straight away. If that's the case, what you can do is you can come, add a sanity, and then we want to look for seller lead, 1.0.2 seller lead, and then grab this sanity check here, outgoing text, and then we do current date and time. So we just want to add in that token, add in the call notes, and there we go. So what this is saying is if the type is equal to outgoing text and the time is greater than 8 a.m. and the time is less than 8 p.m. So basically, if the time is between 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. and we need to add in the step here. Step is not equal to blank, so it checks if it is actually a drip campaign step. And call notes contains step 1, so we check that it's step 1 and it's not another step. And action status equal to pending. We can trigger flow SmrtPhone end if. And then we can do the same for email, so we'll just copy that, sanity, add in the current date and time again, Don't know why that doesn't automatically populate, but we'll add it in. And then where it says outgoing text, just remove text and put email. And then trigger flow. Email trigger part 1. End if. All right. That's all we need to add here. So then we can hit save. But now we can go ahead and test it. So let's go to our test lead. Click into it. Go down to drip campaign. We've added our drip campaign already. Now we can hit begin drip campaign. And let's see what happens. So the drip campaign is now in progress. The campaign begin date has been added. Sometimes the other things take a few seconds to update. So the next send date has been added. Next step number's 1. Looks like our communication history field's updating. Drip campaign status has been marked as complete because we haven't actually got a step 2. We've only added the step 1. So sometimes these communication history fields can take a bit of time to update, but we can see that the variables are here. It's pending. Text message has been sent, and you can see that this has been updated. All of our variables have been filled out, which is great. And then we're just waiting for the email to send. There we go. Automated email successfully sent. We can see all of the variables have been filled out, which is great again. If I look at my email here, we can see the email has been received. The only thing I would say is that the formatting is off. So to fix that, all we want to do is go to communications, go to send email trigger part 2, and then scroll down, and where it says here strip tags _GF, we want to remove that. Do the same for your subject here. Remove that right there, just from the email one. The text one will work as expected, but not the email one. So we can save that. And then if we have another look, everything else is looking good. And let's just do one more test so we can see the email formatting is working as expected. I'll just refresh my screen. Go down to drip campaign section. I'll just hit begin drip campaign one more time. So that's updated as it should do. Wait for the communication history to update. And what we can actually see that the tasks have been added from our drip campaigns as well, which is good. All right, we can see the pending text and pending email. I've just got the text. The email's formatted as it should be there. Wait for the email to send. There we go. Automated email sent. Let's take a look. And the formatting is as it should be. Perfect. So that's it. That is the drip campaign fully set up. All of the automation's done. Drip campaigns are super complex. Like if someone comes to me and wants me to do a drip campaign for them, typically I'm charging around about $800. So you've saved quite a bit of money and hopefully learned quite a bit. So that's it from me. For those that want to connect GlobeMail, we'll do that now. But for those that aren't going to, the reason to connect GlobeMail is you can see that the email comes from reply at Podio automations. But if I was to reply, it still replies to your normal email address. So the email address that you want it to reply to, it's just it comes from this email. But for those that want to connect GlobeMail, that's what we're going to do now. For those that aren't doing it, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And, you know, I hope I'm providing enough value that warrants you doing that. So thanks to those that aren't staying. And for those that are staying, Let's do it. So to connect GlobyMail, we're going to go to globymail.com. Okay, sign in. And then it's just going to, oh, actually, no, you want to sign up, don't you? So we'll select free trial. Agree to the privacy policy, get started, grant access. So it's just wants access to Podio. It's then going to do a refresh. The only important things to do to start with are go to apps, add new, and select the communications app. So you want to select this field here, and then you want to select the contact email. And then the subject, just select email subject, hit save. Now what you can do is the same for seller leads if you wanted to. Connect seller leads in this app. Seller's email address. And then the subject, you can select whatever you want. But with GlobyMail, if you're doing it from seller leads, you'll be sending the email manually. So you would just update the subject before you send it. What you also want to do is go to the Chrome store, type in GlobyMail, and download the GlobyMail extension. When you do that, when you go into a lead, you'll be then able to hit email and it will send the email for you. So you'll be able to just type, and yeah, that's the good thing about having the extension. So the other thing that you want to do, go to sending domains, add a domain, and it's going to connect to the domain that's connected to your account. So, and then it's going to come up with configure. It's basically going to tell you where to add it. So you're basically adding it in your CNAME records within your host. This could sound a bit complicated, and it is. And unfortunately, I can't show you how to do it because there's so many different host providers out there that everyone's going to be different. But this is just a step that you have to do. If you want me to do it for you, I can do it for you. If you email me at support@orata.io, I can do it for you. I will have to charge, but yeah, I can help you out if you want. Another thing that you want to do, let me quickly sign back into the other one. So another thing you want to do is when you go to apps, this is not 100% necessary, but it's a nice little touch. Go to show advanced, and then it'll say email address mapping. If you unselect this, and whether you've upgraded or not, you might see subject of email or hidden in the body of the email. Depending on which one of these you select, it's then going to give you a forwarding address so when an email comes in or you send an email, you want to set up a rule that if the body contains this, then forward it to this address. So I can show you what that looks like. If you go to your settings, see all settings. This is Gmail. If you're using Outlook, I actually wouldn't know how to do that. Probably got some forwarding settings that are similar. But what you'd do is you'd then add a forwarding address and you'd put this in here. So I just need to verify that it's me. Okay, forwarding mail to proceed. And then okay. So it's now going to send an email to GlobyMail asking permission. So if you scroll to the top, open this in a new tab. So right click, open link in new tab. You're going to see that you have this email from Google basically. So it wants you to confirm that you want to forward. So then you can copy the link and press confirm. So now what you'll want to do is in your filters and blocked addresses, you can go to create a new filter. So in the includes the words, you want to grab what it asks you to select here. If message body contains this, if you were doing the subject, then you would do if subject contains this. But I prefer to do it in the message body, but it's up to you if you've upgraded your account or not. So if message body, close that, includes the words, and then just type it copy it in there, create the filter, forward it to, and then choose the address that you've just added in, which is not here. Okay, now it's there. Maybe you just need to do some kind of refresh. Maybe go out of your settings, come back in, forward it to, select here, and then create filter. And that's it. So now when an email comes in from a client, it's going to automatically forward that to GlobeMail. GlobeMail is going to then add that comment to the record where the email was sent. And you can basically just then have all of your email in one place. The only last thing to do, if you go into PWA, go to communications, and in your send email trigger part 2, hit edit. Again, make sure you do this after you've downloaded the Chrome extension. But then what you'll notice is use GlobeMail. You can select it here and you can select it here. And now it's going to use GlobeMail to send emails instead of generic Podio. And the great thing is, I can show you in the future, if you add a tutorial request in the forum, so I know there's actually demand for it, I can show you how to send it via email templates, and then you can create really fancy looking emails. All right, hope that was useful. So thank you very much for watching. It's been a long one, but I hope it's going to be a valuable one. All right, cheers.